And then obviously you do that same thing.
I'm Austin Neufeld, and I am more than I can see. So I was born in 1993 in Regina, Saskatchewan. It's a small city in the middle of nowhere. Cold winters, hot summers, not a whole lot to do. I was born into a very Christian home. My father was the leader of worship at our church. I would be at the church for probably like 6 days a week because I also went to a private school that would run out of the same church that I attended. So I would be in school Monday to Friday, and then on top of that, I would have church on Sundays. I spent a lot of time in church. It was basically my second home. But yeah, growing up was pretty normal. I mean, if that's normal as that can get, I guess. I thought it was normal, being at church 24/7. I don't know. I felt comfortable there. All my friends were from there. All of my family attended the same church too. It's kind of weird actually when I think about it. I knew I was weird, but it never really necessarily occurred to me that I was something other than the regular or the norm until I was probably like 13 or so. Like growing up, I was always like a little bit different from the other boys, but like that never really bothered me, and I didn't have a hard time getting along with them or anything. But I just knew I was a little bit quirky. I just thought that's what it was. But yeah, when I was about 13 or 14, basically as soon as puberty kicked in, and everyone was like starting to like talk about girls and like notice girls and everything, I was like, I don't get it. Like, I mean, like maybe I'm just late to the party. I don't know, because I was taught that if you were gay or like homosexual, or you had homosexual tendencies or whatever you want to call it, that was something you could change. I think that was something that God could fix or whatever. So I knew I had those from like probably like 14 onwards. So I'd kind of just like try and pray the gay away. And then it wasn't until I was probably 19 or 20 that I actually came to the conclusion that this wasn't something that I could change, and that I was either going to have to hide it for the rest of my life, or I was going to have to just accept it and do the best I can, which essentially is what I did. It was actually a really hard year because that was also the year that I moved away from home to Vancouver, so I was all alone. I didn't have any friends, and I was kind of coming to terms with my sexuality all at the same time. So I spent most of that year really depressed and like really lonely and like frustrated with my life. I just came to a breaking point like one night when I was like alone, and I was like supposed to be doing homework or whatever, and I just like couldn't concentrate on anything because I felt so like empty and like not myself inside, which is how I spent most of the year actually, just constantly fighting with like who I felt like I was versus who I was portraying to the world, and realizing that I wasn't being honest with the people I loved or myself, and it kind of just like all accumulated one night, and I just like ended up bawling, and like I was like, this is what it is. That was the moment where I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Like I'm just gonna try and live honestly and authentically from now on. I knew it was gonna be hard. I knew that my family was gonna be an issue. I knew that my religion that I had grown up with was gonna come into play a lot, and I was gonna be faced with a lot of like difficult questions, not only from other people but also myself for like what I believe and like what I stand for, what morals I hold on to, kind of just like parts. I would have to like figure out parts of myself that were just me portraying a role, I guess, and then figuring out what parts of me were actually real and authentic and what I should hold on to and what I should kind of discard and walk away from. So it was like a very stressful period of my life. But I got through it, and I feel like I'm okay. At the end of the day, I feel like, because I do very much believe in a higher power, like I think personally there's just things in the Bible that change with the times. Like even in the Bible you'll see laws in the Old Testament that just weren't applicable in the New Testament, and that's just because time and like social norms change, like and people change, humans change, we're always constantly changing. So I don't know where I stand on the Bible. I still very much am a spiritual person, and that's very important to me. That's something that I feel like my parents instilled in me that is still very important to me, and I'm grateful for that. Honestly, not much has changed since I've come out. I think that's mostly just because of distance sake. I don't get to talk to them much, and when we do talk, usually my sexuality isn't what we talk about. Probably the most progress was made in like the first 2 weeks after I came out. They took it very hard. My dad took it like very personally, like he was like a failure as a father and like as a spiritual like mentor. Essentially, like everything he worked for was ruined in his eyes, which was really hard to watch. He was pretty torn up about it. My mom cried for like a week straight. I think she was mostly just like scared that it'd become this like sexual deviant or something, and like completely like cut them out of my life, which was never my intention. I've always been close to my parents. I would never want that. And so it was really important for me to let them know that the reason I was telling them is because I cared and because I wanted them very much to still be a part of my life and basically just go with me through life as we would if I was straight. But obviously that part's not going to happen. So I'm normal. I want the same things as normal people, and I want my parents to be there for me when I accomplish these things and like, you know, find a guy. I'd like to get married someday, maybe have kids. I haven't decided yet. But like these big things in life are still things that I want and that are important to me and are important to my family, even if it's not necessarily what they imagined. And I believe that they want to be there for me, even if they don't agree with how I do things or like necessarily believe what I believe. But I believe that they're dedicated to at least making it work, even if it's not necessarily coming to common ground or like seeing eye to eye. I feel like they care enough to stick around, which is nice. My definition of gay is being okay with who I am. It's giving myself a label that I feel like I can be proud of. It's like, yes, I'm other than, or yes, that I'm not normal or of the majority, but I am something special, and I have a place and a community, and I have somewhere where I fit into the grand scheme of things. And I realize that labels aren't always good, and that leads way for generalizations and stereotypes, but I think to some extent humans feel comfortable labeling things, and to go through your life not really knowing where you fit and then finding a label that you feel like you can grasp onto, even just for the sake of comfort, it's nice. I hope that my parents come to a place where they're comfortable with the idea of me being gay, and they come to a place where I can bring somebody special home and not be worried about them judging me or treating me or my partner like we're any different than anybody else. I think I have a tendency to like belittle myself and to like limit myself, and I think it's important that I let myself know that I'm so much more than what I believe I am. I'm Austin Neufeld, and I am more than I can see.
Let's try it again.
One more time?
Yeah.
Okay. I felt like that was so good though.
It was.
I felt like a news anchor.